They walk in with their stories loud, trying to pull me through their crowd. But I build walls they can't unbind. My strength is sharp, it's well defined. Voices rising like a storm. But I've been here, I've been reborn. I stand my ground, I hold my line. Their shadows fade while I still shine. They can't break me, they can't drown. I stand my ground. I stand my ground. They toss their words like broken glass, hoping my heart is made of brass. But I've got scars that spell my name, each one a torch, each one a flame. Let them roar, let them scream. I've got fire, I've got dreams. Stone by stone, I've built my throne. This is my world, I'm not alone. I stand my ground, I hold my line. Their shadows fade while I still shine. They can't break me, they can't drown. I stand my ground. I stand my ground. I stand my ground. I stand my ground.
Taylor's bold voice, southern sass, and a whole lot of grit. Here's a poem that captures that fiery spirit, mixing chaos, charm, and unapologetic truth. Taylor's train wreck.
Hello.
Closing loud like a midnight rail, lip gloss blazing, heart full of hell. Southern grace with a side of bite, she'll bless your soul and start a fight. Tracks ain't straight in Taylor's town, she'll derail peace just to wear the crown. Bitch and bold with a rebel's flair, truth bombs dropping like she just don't care. One hand on sweet tea, one on the mic, she'll roast your lies and still sound polite. Drama's fuel and shakes her steam, she's the conductor of your broken dream. Don't mistake the wreck for mess, She's poetry in a torn up dress, a hurricane wrapped in velvet lace, with fire in her eyes.
I started a little early, you guys.
She rolls in loud like a midnight rail, lip gloss blazing, heart full of hell. Southern grace with a side of bite, she'll bless your soul and start a fight. Facts ain't straight in Taylor's town, she'll derail peace just to wear the crown. Bitch in bold,
I'm trying to get in. Yeah, I think Little Short's gonna start where I want it to be.
One hand on sweet tea, one on the mic. She'll roast your lies and still sound polite. Drama's fuel and shades her steam. She's the conductor of your broken dream. But don't mistake the wreck the mess. She's poetry in a torn up dress.
Horrific story developing out of Cleveland's east side. It started Monday evening with the discovery of...
I'm getting everything set up. Give me one moment. This way I can see you guys can see me, or see what we're showing. Everything will work out perfectly. Give me 1 second, though, to get that working here. Okay. I know a lot of us have been focused on the Nancy Guthrie case, and a lot of us have let other cases kind of slide by us. Today, this one's out of Cleveland, Ohio, and it's very, very saddening. So we're just going to hit play.
Good afternoon. I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News, coming to you from our digital desk. We continue to update you on this incredibly sad, incredibly horrific story developing out of Cleveland's east side. It started Monday evening with the discovery of 2 suitcases that were partially buried in what police called a shallow grave. Those suitcases were discovered by a man walking his dog. In fact, one of the suitcases was discovered by him. You're about to see the body cam video of the first officer on scene who makes contact with that man who called 911 to say he found the suitcase and that he did open it. And when he saw a person...
Hold up, I gotta do something. Trigger warning, you guys. Trigger warning. I don't have any mods in here. Put that in there for me. So trigger warning.
Person inside, that's when he backed away and called police. I want to warn you, this goes without saying, that this is just incredibly graphic and incredibly sad. Now, we're not going to show where police bend down and start to unzip the suitcase. That's where we're going to stop out of sensitivity. But because there are so many questions of how could this happen and what did the suitcase look like and how do you fit what turned out to be an 8.5-year-old
Welcome in, Lieutenant.
and a
14-year-old.
how do you put those in 2 different suitcases and leave them for dead in the vacant lot or the vacant field next to Ginn Academy. This is the area of East 162nd Street.
Thank you, 6, for coming in. If you haven't hit the love like button, please do so. And if you're not subbed up, it's free this month.
Is the area, and I believe we can show you that just so that you have an idea. The red point is the intersection of Midland Avenue and East 162nd, and we're talking about that tree line. It's called Saranac Playground, and if you look at that tree line that's kind of up against where those trailers, where those empty semi-trailers are, that is the area that these suitcases were found. And just to zoom out to show you how far we are talking about from downtown Cleveland, not all that far. Again, this is the Glenville rural neighborhood. But this video is graphic to say the least. Some of the details that are shared by the man whose dog sniffed on that suitcase to discover it is pretty graphic. There is the discussion of a head, and there were terrible reports coming out, not from our station, from one of the other stations in town, that indicated that these girls may have been dismembered. That was completely false. But you're going to hear a statement by the man who unzipped it to say that he saw.
Hey, you four, go grab a friend of peace and bring them over and hit that love like button while you're at it. And sub
ahead, and that's when he stopped and called police. So again, this is the last graphic warning. We are going to stop before the suitcase is unzipped. I will relay to you the conversation that was had by the three officers after the suitcase was partially unzipped. It was not unzipped and opened. It was nothing like that. The police had to make at least the identification, to verify what the man had said he saw in the suitcase. So again, we're going to show you this, really not to glorify this, because this is just absolutely horrific, and I'll start playing this, but really to answer some of the questions many of you have.
Understood. If you go, you can see the case from back here. It's all the way straight to the back.
Close to that sign?
Yeah, see the little black
Straight ahead in front of me? Okay.
Straight,
It's
yeah.
a suitcase?
It's a suitcase. I've been walking past it for about a week now because I take my dog. I stay right here. I take my dog. I usually walk her through there and then come around here.
Okay.
And for the last week, she's been stopped. It was like a mound of dirt. She's been stopped and sniffing like a little too long.
Okay.
And today I was like, well, I'm going to take it. I hope it's not what I'm...
Right.
And it was halfway buried. It's about this thick. It's about halfway buried. I pulled it up, unzipped it. I couldn't really see. And I opened it up and hid.
Buried under the dirt it was?
Yeah, halfway.
Okay.
You can see a little part of it sticking out.
And you said you noticed it for about a week already?
Yeah, it's been sitting over there like somebody buried it or tried to bury it. And like I said, I walked my dog over there and she keeps stopping it. She sniff a little too long.
Right.
You know, she sniffs stuff. And I'm like, I don't know what that is.
Right.
I'm not with it. And today I was just like, let me see what the that really is.
Okay.
It's back there.
All right,
I pulled it up so it's kind of standing up and stinks like hell.
Okay. You're right here.
Yeah.
What was your name, sir? Okay. I will check it out. I'll be with you. Thank you. Thank you.
Radio. God. It's on the air, please. I got you.
The officer at this point is waiting for backup. You'll hear a conversation that he also needs someone to bring him a flashlight. Keep in mind, this is just the first of 2 suitcases that were found after the body was discovered. And this one, they start searching that entire wood line that you see, and they do eventually find a second suitcase with another body in it. Again,
Hey, are you still inside the district? Okay. I was gonna have you grab my flashlight, but that's all right. When you get up here, if you go down 162, like I went up Saranac, 162, you can just pull in this parking lot for this Ginn Academy, and you'll see me back here. So I haven't opened it yet. The dude I talked to, the caller, he said that there was this suitcase partially like buried in the ground that he said he's been noticing for like a week, and his dog keeps trying to get to it. So he said that he pulled it out today and to see what was in there because it was kind of heavy, and he noticed like a head and hurry, he just left it and called the police. So I'll just wait till you guys get here before I open it. All right. Yeah, just come down towards like Midland, and I mean, as soon as you get to like the last drive for the school, you'll just pull in there. I'm in the back. All right.
So again, this officer is going to wait for backup. It does take a couple of minutes to get here. He is going to start to do just a little bit of a preliminary search of this area. We're not entirely sure at this point where the second suitcase is. He walks down about 10, 15, 20 feet. There is an area of dirt that is also disturbed. Not exactly sure if that's where the second suitcase was. As we wait for the other officers to arrive, let's remind you what we know about this case. It was late yesterday afternoon, after detectives had been working this case, that they developed information.
Hey, Gil, are you still at the district by chance? Can you do me a favor, please? I left my flashlight in the sergeant's office. Are you able to run it up to me? I'm on this call on 162. Yeah, so if you go in there right in front of, like on the side of the refrigerator, you'll see a flashlight. And then I'm on that call on 162nd and Midland. Appreciate it. Thanks, Gil.
Police used DNA from the inspection of the bodies from the medical examiner's office, determined that the 2 bodies were in fact half sisters. Again, one 8.5 years old, the other 14 years old. Using detective skills, according to the police department, they develop a lead to a home that's in this same area, on really across the street from this area. They served a search warrant yesterday, were able to collect a lot more evidence, and in fact, an arrest was made of a 28-year-old woman. That's as far as Cleveland police are going. We know through Cuyahoga County Sheriff Department records that a 28-year-old woman, Aaliyah Henderson, was arrested yesterday evening, and was booked, or at least arrested, on charges of murder and child endangering. The police have not connected the 2 names, but in both cases we're talking about the Cleveland police have identified a 28-year-old woman who was arrested in connection with the 2 suitcases, and then you have the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Department that booked a woman, 28 years old, Aaliyah Henderson, for what will eventually be charges. She was arrested on charges of murder and child endangering. So we'll let you watch the rest of the video as his backup is about to arrive. But again, out of sensitivity, we are going to stop before the officer reaches for the zipper to open that suitcase. In no way, shape, or form would we ever show that. This is where the officer walks down. If you look just at the bottom of the screen there is another area of disturbed dirt. Not entirely sure if that was the location of the second suitcase, but we know it was along that same tree line. His backup is just pulling up, and we'll take you through the rest of this video.
15 radio, can you show me at 5, working on 3 reports and Mark tagging in there in Crawford?
I got you. Yeah, 3-4 radio. Yeah, bye. Go ahead. Chief Romeo with Sam 3 on this call. I copy 1834. Radio to Barney 14. His listed address is going to be in Euclid. They did have a possible callback. It's from last September. It's 216-463-2233.
Can you repeat the last 4 digits of that phone number?
Yep, last 4 is going to be 2233.
Copy that.
I ain't opened it yet. I left my flashlight. Oh, you got a flashlight. We're gonna have to look and see. I mean, it's like partially buried. He said it was sticking out for like a week. He finally decided to open it up. I just want to see. You flash your light on. I just want to see if there's any blood or anything on it. No? Yeah.
And that is where we have chosen to stop the video. I have watched the rest of it. From there's not a whole lot more. There's only about 20 seconds left on the video. The officer reaches down and unzips just the zipper to get it to the top and takes the flashlight. The suitcase does not open. They don't open it to that extent. They are just trying to see if, in fact, there was a body inside. He takes the flashlight. You hear one of the officers say, "Oh, yeah, that is." You hear one officer ask about if that was the head. And again, at this with 19 News coming to you from our digital desk. We're about to get an update from the police chief here in Cleveland on the case of 2 young girls being found partially buried in 2 suitcases. This was behind Ginn Academy. Their bodies were discovered by a man walking his dog. His dog actually hit on or smelled the first suitcase, and that's when police were called. Let's get you live now to the update.
Out and located the deceased individual that was in a shallow grave inside of a suitcase. The officers immediately began their investigation as they canvassed the area for any potential evidence on scene. The officers located what appeared to be a second shallow grave, and they could tell that there was a second suitcase in that location. The officers at that time identified that there was a body inside of that second suitcase as well. The medical examiner's office responded out, and they took custody of the individuals and for their further investigation. So we completed our investigation on scene. The only updates we have at this time are that the individuals are 2 juvenile black females. The one individual is suspected to be anywhere between the ages of 8.5 to 13. The second is estimated to be of the age of 10.5 to 14. At this time, there are no clear indicators of the cause of death of the 2 young females. And we're asking if anyone has any information, saw anything suspicious in the area, that they are to contact the Cleveland Division of Police Homicide Unit at 216-623-5464. We will be operating that line 24 hours a day, so someone will be available to answer those calls. Or they can call Crime Stoppers at 216-252-7463. At this time, we don't know how long the juveniles had been at this location. It was some time, so it's not just something that was recent. The investigation is ongoing. We have to wait for results from the medical examiner, and from there, we should have an update once we have further information. So if you have any questions, we'll open it up.
The body's dismembered.
No.
And approximately how big are these suitcases if you were to...
I am not going to give that information right now, so the only thing I do ask is if somebody saw something that was suspicious involving something that sounds familiar, I don't want to give certain information out that could tamper the investigation.
Were the 2 victims related?
No, we don't have any identification of either of the victims at this time.
But
Do you have any suspects?
No.
Are there missing persons, missing children that match the 2 girls that were found?
So it's a good question. We have checked our, locally, we have no reports of any missing children that match these identifications. We are checking statewide as well. We also have the assistance from our federal, state, and local partners. This is a priority. This is a traumatic event for our officers, for the community, and this is just such a tragic incident. But we are trying to develop any leads we can. That's why we're also asking for the community's help.
I know in last night's press release you said that the department said there's no ongoing threat to the public. What leads investigators to come to that conclusion?
When we say that, it's more we know that this didn't just happen. We still have to develop exactly when this happened, and we don't have any indication that there's a clear threat to safety.
Can you give any sort of update on the condition of the bodies that are found? I know you said it's been some time. This isn't something that just happened, but any sort of...
So right now, the only thing we could say, there's no clear indicators, so there's nothing that's visible enough to determine what the cause of death was.
We had heard, Chief, that perhaps these children were malnourished. Is that something that you heard as well?
I don't have a comment on that. I would defer to the medical examiner once their results come out.
Were the individuals clothed?
I will also defer to the medical examiner on that at this time.
Was there any identification inside the suitcase or a name on a shirt, like a kid's shirt, or anything that would lead you to...
Unfortunately, we have no indicators right now of the identity of the children involved.
Should we believe that they're local? Or do we not know that
we can't even determine that at this time.
Can you kind of describe that neighborhood to us? Is there often foot traffic in that area where the bodies...
Yeah, so the caller in this incident was just a resident from the area who was walking their dog through the area. This is a field close to the school over there. This is just a residential neighborhood that I'm sure a lot of people do frequent. The weather has been, changed.
Once again, trigger warning for anybody who's sensitive. This may not be alive for you today. Just letting you guys know.
Recently, the snow's been thawing, so it's really hard to determine the length of time at this point.
There are some businesses around there with cameras that appear to be pointing. I don't know how far they go, but have you been gathering some of that evidence?
Yeah, so our detectives have been out there actively walking the neighborhoods and gathering the information. The difficult part is that timeline, how far you have to look back, and a lot of cameras don't capture historical data, so we are currently still canvassing for that. So if someone has cameras and they want to, just do a cursory review to see if they have anything suspicious, we please let us know and give us a call.
For anyone watching this story, you want people to come forward who may have seen something suspicious. What are some things that, should set off an alarm and they should contact you about?
Anything that you see that's out of the ordinary. Did you see anyone spending a significant amount of time in that area? Someone who seems out of sorts to your neighborhood. Usually in residential areas, what's happening in your neighborhood. Something just seems a little bit off. That's why we're asking that anyone who has anything that they believe to be information directly related to or suspicious, that they give us a call.
Chief, we had heard that the FBI and perhaps U.S. Marshals were out searching yesterday. Does that search have anything to do with these missing individuals?
No, that's not connected.
Are you working with any other agencies in this? Maybe the FBI, maybe, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, anything like that?
We are working with all of our federal, state, and local partners. From Department of Children and Family Services to CMSD to the FBI, this is a priority investigation.
As far as your knowledge, have you had any other cases here locally similar to this where children were found in suitcases or missing people or like anything like this before?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Chief, can you describe, when it involves children, I mean, it takes this crime to another level.
It does.
Can you talk about that?
So when you look at that, you have an individual who's a resident who locates the trauma that happens right there, and at the end of the day, our officers are just regular people, and their parents, and it's something that a lot of officers never have to experience. We hope they would never have to experience, and it's traumatic for everyone, and it's traumatic just for those who live in the area to know that this was right there outside their doorstep.
Should people be on heightened alert in and around this area?
I think all residents should always be cautious to the ongoings of their neighborhoods. Just keeping alert for anything that is suspicious and always reporting it. We can't do police work alone. It takes the community to be a part of that, to call us, to let us know if something in their neighborhood is suspicious that needs something for us to take a further look at.
Have you been in contact with, CMSD, any local schools, things like that, working with their principals?
We're working with everybody. Yeah.
Can I ask, and then you say you don't want to give away too many details, but the brand of suitcase, perhaps?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, but because of the integrity of the investigation, I just can't give those specifics at this time. And as soon as we develop more leads or we have additional information, we will keep you updated. As soon as the coroner's office has more for us, we will keep you updated on that information. We just want to. The most important thing is misinformation gets out there quickly, and we want to clarify exactly what we know at this time. The delay in us giving the update is because this is it's a sensitive investigation, and there wasn't a lot to go on at this point. So we want to give you as much factual information that we have as soon as we could.
Are there any solid leads right now?
No.
Can I ask, and you may not be able to give it, but can you classify how badly decomposed these bodies were? Was it a great amount? Obviously, that's going to impact the investigation.
Well, I'm going to leave it to the coroner's determination because they take custody of the bodies, and they're doing their review right now, so they will probably provide that update when they're complete.
So, Chief, what is your next steps?
As far as
where do you go from here? What will you do shortly after this news conference?
So I can tell you that one, we're establishing a 24-hour response line. Our investigators, not just on this investigation, but on many, they spend countless days, nights, hours, whatever it takes, sleepless nights on this investigation. We are working with all of our partners. We are we're canvassing, we're talking to people, and the best thing is to find answers. It's just terrible, horrific situation.
Do you have any idea how long it'll take the medical examiner's office to get
We don't. I don't want to talk about their timelines, but hopefully we'll have something soon.
When do you anticipate the next update?
As soon as we have something more. We want to make sure that we keep the community updated, but I'm giving you what we have right now. so as soon as we have something further. But again, I encourage anyone, if they saw anything suspicious, if they know anything related to, kids that are missing, that they please call us. And, that's the most important thing. 216-623-5464. Someone will be responding to that line 24 hours. We all set?
Anything else you may want to add, you may have missed or you want to emphasize?
No, I just, the biggest thing is, getting the accurate information out as quickly as we can. That's the most important thing, is making sure that, to honor these young people, making sure the right story is out there. So thank you very much.
Dan DeRose with 19 News as we get an update from Police Chief Dorothy Todd from downtown on what has really been a shock to the system. We are dealing with less than 24 hours from a man who was simply walking his dog in that neighborhood, and it was his dog that discovered the smell of a suitcase that was partially buried. They're calling it a shallow grave. That's when he called police. Police find the first suitcase with a body and find a second suitcase with a body. I want to show you again the area that we are talking about. You can see Ginn Academy there to the north of your screen. The actual intersection is East 162nd and Midland Avenue. It's kind of this park area, the tree line area behind the school there. The man, according to our police sources, had told police that he generally hasn't been walking his dog back in that area because of snow, but majority of our snow is gone. He went back there, and that's why we heard from Chief Todd that said it's clear that those bodies had probably been there for some time, that this was not recent. And you think about who might have information in this case. Think about a family member who is saying, hey, where's little Susie and where's little Sally been for the last 2-3 months? We haven't seen them. Family hasn't brought them over by the house. There has to be somebody that is missing 2 children. They do not have any missing cases in the city of Cleveland here that match. And the ages, they think one somewhere between 8.5 and 13 years old. The other somewhere between 10.5 and 14 years old. And you start to, unfortunately, think about the grisly details of how do you potentially get a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old into a suitcase. They were not dismembered. There were a lot of rumors, a lot of false reports flying around earlier that they had potentially been cut up and put in suitcases. That is not the case here. Dorothy Todd clarifying, Chief Todd clarifying that they were not dismembered. Just the only details, those age ranges, and that they were young women and that they were black, according to Chief Todd. So again, somebody has to, this is going to start to ring a bell as it makes headlines and as it is talked about on our evening news. Somebody is going to say, wait a second, we haven't seen these 2 little girls in our family. They haven't been bringing them around. Perhaps somebody can make a call. That phone number again, Chief Todd put out, that's going to be staffed 24 hours now, 216-623-5464. 216-623-5464 is now going to be the 24-hour tip line for this case. Very simple to make one call and say you may want to look at family X because we haven't seen the 2 little girls in some time. That's generally what's going to break this case. I can think back to the other historic case in Cleveland where the family had been told, we sent the 2 little children, we sent them to live in Texas with another family member. And that case as well sounded very suspicious. And unfortunately, the family had buried those children in the backyard of a home. That was a historic case, a national case that got attention, but what happened right here in Cleveland. So it could be something like that. It could be a family member who said, we sent the 2 girls to go live with family in another part of the country. And if that just sounds super suspicious or, they still can't tell you what family member or you can't call, some family member in another state where they claim these two young girls had gone, you may want to give police a call. 216-623-5464. We're, of course, going to have an update to this on all of the day's breaking news. It's been a busy day here in Northeast Ohio for news. When we start 3.5 hours of news and weather on Channel 19. You'll also be able to watch on our free app. Wherever you download your apps, so whether it's DirecTV or Disney or whatever apps you have, download the 19 News Plus app, and you can always watch our newscasts live for free and 24/7 weather. Until then, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News. Have a good afternoon.
The officers responded out and located a deceased individual that was in a shallow grave inside of a suitcase.
A disturbing discovery has led to a shocking mystery.
Located what appeared to be a...
And good morning, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News, coming to you from our digital desk. We want to update you on a story that has really gripped Cleveland and really Northeast Ohio, because this case continues to unfold. And so we want to make sure we've given you the most updated information. We've just gotten a press release from the city of Cleveland to sort of update this. So we're going to try and walk you through this case because it is so convoluted. It starts Monday evening, and we want to show you a video from when this occurred. This is on the east side of Cleveland, really near the Ginn Academy. And at this point, it was called in as a man who was walking his dog, and his dog smelled something, for the lack of a better term, hit on something, and the man investigated, and it appeared to be a suitcase that was partially buried, or buried in a shallow, what police called a shallow grave. Immediately they began searching that area. They do find that first suitcase, and there was a child's body in there. They start searching the rest of the area. You can kind of see it's a wooded area. As they begin to search.
You guys don't know how badly this type of thing pisses me off. Especially whenever you have friends that have been accused of much worse and heinous crimes on their own children or child who's now missing. It makes me mad because people are not smart enough to see the outside. Just going to say that.
That second, that area, they find a second suitcase that is also partially buried or in a shallow grave, and also contains the body of a young child. And so that's where the case evolved as far as Monday night into Tuesday. A little bit of information came out Tuesday that it appears that the DNA from testing the DNA from the two children, that they appeared to be at least half sisters. And that really started the investigation. And from what the Cleveland police say in this press release, that the homicide unit launched in an intensive investigation working to develop leads through area canvassing, witness interviews, and the review of available surveillance footage. Despite limited initial evidence, detectives worked quickly and methodically to advance the investigation. That goes through the course of a day or two. And I want to show you exactly where we are talking in the city of Cleveland on the east side, just so that if you're familiar with the area, that you might be able to just see where we're talking. You can see I-90 on the east side, and we are focusing in on where that red bullet point is. It is the intersection of Midland Avenue and East 162nd. You can see it's just a half a block away from Ginn Academy, and it's really this wooded area that you see on the back of this, what they call Saranac Playground. You see the trees before those what look like semi-trailers. That's the area that these two suitcases and the two young girls' bodies were found. Let's fast forward to yesterday. Yesterday afternoon, police are back out at that scene after really opening that area up. And I want to make sure we've got the right video here. They go back out to the area to search a home that they develop information on, and they get a search warrant for a house in this area. You can see more of those trailer boxes in the back there. And they start to do more investigating. They go back to a home in the 700 block of East 162nd Street. And according to the police, within less than 48 hours, detectives detained a person of interest and recovered substantial evidence related to the case while they are searching that home on East 162nd. They also find a child inside that home who they say appeared to be in good health. Now, from that, we do know that according to police in their release, that one person was taken into custody. A 28-year-old female was arrested, and she is expected to be charged later today. That's where we want to sort of stop with the information given us today from police. What we also know through working this story is that, police have yet to put a name to the 28-year-old arrested. They at least don't put that name in this press release. But what we know is that a 28-year-old woman was arrested yesterday evening, and she was arrested on charges of murder and child endangering. That was the arrest charges and why she was arrested. Now, you at home may want to put two and two together. We can't do that as of yet. All we can do is give you the details of the two bodies that were found, the home that was searched, and that a 28-year-old was arrested in that home. We can also tell you that we know in the city of Cleveland and Cuyahoga County from the Sheriff's Department that this woman was arrested yesterday, Aaliyah Henderson. She is 28 years old and arrested and expecting charges for murder and child endangering. We are trying to tread lightly here. We are just giving you what we know, that this woman here has been arrested, Aaliyah Henderson, and she has been arrested and is expected to be charged for murder and child endangering. But that's kind of where we have to stop. And again, you at home may be wanting to put two and two together, but we are just sort of pumping the brakes just a little bit. Now, we do know that according to the press release, when we start talking about that house on East 162nd, police are telling us that that is a 28-year-old woman and that she is expected to be charged later today. Now, will we be able to finally connect the dots later today? Very possible. Are we about to get a second 28-year-old woman that is being charged in connection to this case? We will just have to wait and see. More than likely not. But we are just proceeding with caution here, giving you the basics, giving you what we have been told by investigators, because this case is so serious and because so many people are wondering, how does this happen? How does a girl that they believe was 8.5 years old, how does a girl that was 14 years old end up in a suitcase and end up partially buried or buried in a shallow grave very near a school on the east side? So that's where we are at. I do want to read a quote given to us today from Police Chief Dorothy Todd. She says in the press release, there were two young lives with their entire futures ahead of them. Our detectives worked tirelessly and with great care to identify those responsible. She goes on to say, investigations of this nature require patience, precision, and discretion. Unlike what is often portrayed on television, every detail cannot be shared publicly. Certain information must remain confidential to protect the integrity and of the investigation and ensure justice for these victims. Chief Todd goes on to say that careful and methodical work allowed our detectives to develop evidence needed to make quick identification of a person of interest, ultimately resulting in an arrest. So that's where we stand. Because we are in between news times, newscasts on Channel 19, wanted to make sure we got you the very latest now that the police have put out a new press release. Really the newest piece of information we got in the last 20 minutes is that when they searched that home on East 162nd, a third person or another child was found in that home, and that child appeared to be healthy. That child has now been placed in the custody of Children and Family Services. So we're going to wait as more information unfolds. Look for push alerts. Look for our 11 o'clock news on Cleveland 43, our new news on Channel 19, and then, of course, 3.5 hours of news and first alert weather on Channel 19 starting at 3 o'clock. But again, if the person that was arrested yesterday, if the charges come down that the police are talking about in their most recent press release, if those come down, we will come back to you live with breaking news here on our digital platforms. Until then, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News. Have a good afternoon.
Sometimes they get really close to catching whoever did it, and sometimes not at all. And often, they have no idea what happened in the slightest. But either way, the authorities lump all these into one category, and that is unsolved missing persons cases. Welcome to Scary Mysteries, where today we'll make you wonder what exactly happened to all these people. And here are 5 of the strangest missing persons cases nobody can explain. Number 5, Virginia Douglas. On Labor Day weekend back in 1988, Virginia Douglas and her husband Frank made a last-minute decision to drive from their home in Lexington, Massachusetts, up to beautiful Bar Harbor, Maine. It was going to be a fun little weekend getaway. It was a bit of a drive, so by the time they reached Belfast, Maine at around 5:30, Virginia asked to stop at Rennie's department store to use the restroom. And just like that, well, she was gone. And Frank waited. After about 15 minutes, he went inside and looked up and down the aisles and in the bathroom. He even spoke with several strangers to see if they had seen his wife, but nobody had. At least, that's the story Frank told police. But here's the thing about it all. And there were no security cameras at Rennie's, no witnesses, no physical evidence to suggest Virginia had ever even stepped foot inside that store. And so the story didn't really make sense. On top of that, instead of calling the police immediately, Frank wandered around the store, picking out a few pieces of lingerie in Virginia's size. And by this time, the people at Rennie's were aware of Frank's plight, so he explained to them why he was buying the clothes, saying it was a good omen that Virginia would return. He then called the authorities, but Virginia never did come back. And her family, investigators, and the public would soon realize that this wasn't a simple case of a missing woman. The evidence suggested something far more sinister, something that didn't even start in Maine, but rather in the Douglas home hours before they ever reached the state line. From the start, Frank's story raised red flags. I mean, why stop at a department store for a restroom break when there was a McDonald's just a block away? Well, Frank said it was because she liked those types of restrooms better. That's possible, I guess. The purchase of the lingerie, though, was strange, but even more concerning was what investigators found at the Douglas home in Mass. And there, they found a couple of bloodstains matching Virginia's blood type in the carpet. Then they found a clump of Virginia's hair tucked beneath the doorstep. as if somebody had dragged her across the floor. On top of that, there were the inconsistencies with Virginia's meticulous nature. And her children pointed out that she never left home without securing everything. Yet when they checked, the house was in complete disarray. And the refrigerator was stocked up with food, the blinds were open, and the house was far from being closed up for a long weekend trip. And then came the most damning revelation. On the night she supposedly disappeared, one of Virginia's children had been arriving to Massachusetts from out of state. They planned to be there at about 9:30 p.m. So why would Frank and Virginia leave home shortly before their arrival for a trip? In Belfast, where the disappearance supposedly took place, was more than 3.5 hours away from their home. Virginia's children knew something was wrong, and while no one was ever charged in connection with her disappearance, 2 of her 3 kids refused to speak to Frank ever again, and they believed their father had killed their mom. Police in both Maine and Massachusetts investigated, but without a body or eyewitnesses, and without Frank ever confessing, well, no arrest could ever be made. Frank Douglas would go on to live the rest of his life as a free man. He died years later, taking whatever secrets he had with him to the grave. Number 4. Maureen Anu Kelly. There's something deeply unsettling about a person vanishing without a trace. A single moment in time, simple choice, and suddenly nothing. And in the dense, unforgiving wilderness of Washington's Gifford Pinchot National Forest, that's exactly what happened to Maureen Anu Kelly. In the summer of 2014, 19-year-old Maureen had joined a group of friends at Canyon Creek Campground, a remote but scenic spot deep within the national park. It wasn't their first time camping together, but for Anu, this one was different. And around 5 p.m., she told her friend she was setting out on a spiritual quest. This was something she had done before, a little personal journey to commune with nature, one that required solitude and a bit of reflection. And in order to take this one to the next level, Anu stripped off all her clothes, taking with her only a small fanny pack containing a knife, matches, and a compass. And barefoot and alone, she then walked off into the vast wilderness. When she failed to return, her friends waited. Maybe she was taking longer than expected because she had found a peaceful spot to rest, and it was hard to know for sure. She had a very adventurous spirit, and since they had been out in these woods before, the idea that something could have gone wrong was pushed far back in their minds. As the hours dragged on, that idea crept forward. And so, in the early hours the following day, they reported her missing.
19-year-old Maureen Kelly was last seen a week ago tomorrow. She had gone into the forest naked to complete a spiritual quest.
The Skamania Sheriff's Department covered miles of dense forest, steep terrain, and rushing waters in an attempt to locate the girl. And search dogs picked up her scent near Canyon Creek, a steep and treacherous drop. Some signs indicated that she had crossed the water and moved northward, climbing towards Forest Service Road 54. But after that, nothing. Her trail simply vanished, and the canine units couldn't pick up any further trace. Helicopters were brought in, but cloud cover and thick tree canopies limited their effectiveness. The search party grew. 75 volunteers scoured 4 square miles of rugged terrain, and yet despite all their efforts, not a single piece of evidence was recovered. Unfortunately for them, since she was nude, there was no clothing to possibly discover. And they searched for footprints or a sign of a struggle in case she came across the wrong person or even animal, but there was still nothing. And after 6 days, while that search party was officially called off, investigators believe the most likely explanation is that she succumbed to the elements. And the weather out there had been mild during the day, but dropped down into the 40s at night, with light rain making conditions even harsher. And without clothing or shelter, hypothermia could have set in, causing disorientation and potentially leading her to an accidental fall or collapse. It's also possible she could have been attacked, but no evidence pointed to foul play. No screams were heard and no blood was found. And the dense vegetation would have shown signs of that if it had occurred. Or, as some friends have suggested, she also could have chosen to disappear. And one of them, Yasmin, cryptically remarked, well, she may not want to be found. But would a young woman truly abandon her entire life, cutting off contact with everyone she knew without leaving behind any sign of her survival? As of now, more than a decade has passed since Anu walked into that forest, and still no answers have surfaced. Her family and friends still hold on to hope, but the reality is grim.
Don't give up on her. Like, please just keep searching. Do not give up on her.
Number 3. Jason Jolkowski. On the morning of June 13, 2001, the phone began ringing at the Jolkowski's residence in Omaha, Nebraska. 19-year-old Jason picked it up and was met with the familiar voice of his boss at Fazoli's, fast food restaurant located on 80th and Cass Street. The request he had was simple, and could Jason come in early for his shift? The young man hesitated because his car was in the shop, meaning he had no immediate way to get there. But he was a responsible young man, not the type to leave his boss hanging, and he told him he'd call him right back after arranging a ride. And that moment would mark the beginning of one of Nebraska's most perplexing missing persons cases, one that remains unsolved to this day.
You guys want some good coverage over Jason? My friend Edward Denzel from Unfound has covered this case.
Tomorrow will make 20 years since Jason Jolkowski disappeared. The then 19-year-old was walking 7 blocks from his home to Benson High School in order to catch a ride to work. Unfortunately, he never made it. Over the past 2 decades, Jason's case has gone cold. The Omaha Police Department still investigates leads as they come in. Jason's mother, Kelly Murphy, says this anniversary is particularly a hard one.
That morning, after confirming a ride with another coworker, Jason agreed to meet them at Benson High School, his former school, just 8 blocks away from his home. It was a route he knew well, and before leaving, he did one last chore, bringing the garbage cans in from the curb. His brother Michael and a neighbor both saw him complete the task. Dressed casually, with his red Fazoli shirt in hand, Jason set off for the familiar walk to Benson High. And then, he was gone. His coworker waited in the high school parking lot, expecting him at 11 a.m. Minutes passed, then a half hour. At 11:30, she called the Jolkowski home, only to have Jason's younger brother Michael answer. Initially joking by pretending to be Jason, Michael quickly realized the gravity of the situation when he heard the panic in the caller's voice. Jason had left more than a half hour earlier. He definitely should have been there. Those hours then turned into a full day. His family reported him missing 24 hours later, following the standard waiting period at the time. But law enforcement didn't immediately take the case seriously at all, and they assumed Jason had run away, which is all too often the case. So it wasn't until 10 days later that an official investigation began, a delay that could have cost them crucial leads. When authorities finally acted, they uncovered that there was no trace of Jason anywhere, as far as they could tell. Surveillance cameras at Benson High showed he never arrived. His bank account with over $650 remained untouched, and his car sat unused in the garage. His ATM card and cell phone were never activated. Even his final paychecks from Fazoli's were left uncashed. But what could have happened? Well, one theory suggests Jason was struck by a vehicle, either accidentally or intentionally. If it was an accident, could the driver have panicked and disposed of Jason's body somewhere? Hit and runs typically leave debris, and they searched but found nothing between his house and that school. Also, someone would have likely heard or seen something. This was a populated area, so for another car not to drive by was pretty unlikely. Yet no witnesses came forward. Or could Jason have possibly survived the impact and wandered off in a daze and succumbed to his injuries elsewhere? Well, some have speculated that he may have suffered amnesia and is still out there, totally unaware of his past. But in a city as large as Omaha, with today's widespread media and social networks, wouldn't he have turned up somewhere? And Jason was excited about his future, especially his upcoming radio job. He had no history of depression or distress. A person who doesn't actively try and get to work early and be as responsible as they can. So an unaliving situation or a runaway theory is pretty weak. And Jason had only $60 on him, hardly enough to start over. And so the most plausible explanation became that Jason was abducted. Was it a stranger? Someone who pulled up alongside him in a car, offered him a ride, and lured him in? Or maybe it was someone he knew. A familiar face could have easily convinced Jason to accept a ride, especially if they presented a reasonable excuse. But still, no evidence has ever surfaced regarding this either. And his family, specifically Jason's mother Kelly, has turned her grief into action. She became a leading advocate for missing persons, founding Project Jason, a nonprofit dedicated to helping families of the missing.
Some people might stop searching, but that's not us. We're never going to give up. So no matter how long it is, we're always going to continue to be creative and find new ways to get the word out about him.
And so if one good thing came from this, it is the passing of Jason's Law, which she pushed, creating Nebraska's first statewide missing persons database. For over 20 years now, his family has searched for the truth. And until that truth is uncovered, Jason's case remains one of the most baffling and haunting disappearances in Nebraska's history. Number 2. Logan Schindelman. A young man full of promise, a car abandoned in the middle of a busy highway, and eerie sightings over the years makes this story one that doesn't add up. Logan Schneidelman was born on June 27, 1996, in Tumwater, Washington. His father, a Saudi Arabian native, was absent from his life. His mother, Hannah, moved to Seattle for art school shortly after his birth. Logan grew up alongside his older half-sister, Chloe, under the care of their grandmother, Ginny, who provided a stable but insular upbringing. By all accounts, Logan was a bright student and a talented athlete. He played defensive back for his high school football team, excelling both on the field and in the classroom. But behind the scenes, Logan struggled with his identity and caught between the different racial backgrounds that made up his heritage. His grandmother later recalled that this left him feeling adrift, an internal conflict that only deepened as he entered adulthood.
He changed a lot. He had a couple things happen right after high school that made him really aware of racism that he hadn't really thought about as much.
And after graduating in 2015, Logan enrolled at Washington State University. But here, the once dedicated student seemed to lose focus, and after just a year, he dropped out and returned home. He took on odd jobs after that, and helped out on his great-aunt's farm, and according to his grandmother, began smoking weed, which he worried was making him paranoid.
I know he did a lot of smoking pot, and I wondered sometimes if that had caused a little bit of paranoia.
And whatever Logan was going through, it was clear he was at a turning point. On the morning of May 19, 2016, Logan had an unusual exchange with Ginny. He seemed nervous and fidgety, as if he had something weighing on his mind. He told her he had an epiphany, but didn't explain further. She reassured him they could talk when she got home from work, but that moment never came, and Logan never made it home. His grandmother initially assumed he had gone to visit his mother in Olympia, but by the next day, when there was still no word from him, she knew something was seriously wrong. She tried to report him missing, but strangely, the Thurston County Police Department was closed for the weekend. When she was finally able to file the report on May 23rd, she received the news that Logan's car had already been impounded. His black 96 Chrysler Sebring had been discovered abandoned on the shoulder of Interstate 5 near milepost 92, on May 20th. Inside were his belongings, his wallet, phone, bags of food, left as if he had just stepped away. His debit card, driver's license, and $25 in cash were there, untouched. Whatever happened to Logan, it didn't appear to be a robbery. And several reports had come in from people seeing Logan's car on the side of that highway that morning. The one witness recalled seeing Logan standing behind the car with two white men. And later the same car was spotted again, now with the hood up and nobody around. And the two men described were never identified, though a sketch was later released of one, a thin man with a bowl-cut hairstyle, wearing clothes that looked too small for him. But the most disturbing sighting came later that afternoon. Multiple witnesses saw Logan's car moving erratically across 3 lanes of traffic before slamming into the concrete median. The car came to a stop, but nobody was inside. A truck driver, though, reported seeing a man, described as white, with reddish-brown hair, jumping out of the passenger's side door and sprinting off into the woods. And then, as if the case couldn't get any stranger, a naked teenager was spotted in the area later that night. Authorities conducted a search, but the individual was never found. And was it Logan, or was this just another eerie coincidence in an already bizarre case? The search teams combed the dense forest near the highway, using helicopters and canine units, but found no trace of the young man. His uncle, Mike Ware, a retired sheriff, joined the search efforts, but despite his experience in law enforcement, he could make no sense of his nephew's disappearance. And complicating matters further, Logan's car had been impounded before it was processed as evidence, so any potential forensic clues that could have been inside were lost. The theories surrounding his disappearance range from the plausible to the bizarre. Some speculate he had a mental health episode and ran off into the woods, though no body was ever found. Others believe he was targeted, perhaps by the mysterious men seen near his car. The most unsettling possibility? That Logan got caught up in something and tried to get away from it, but someone ensured he never made it far. Number 1. Derek Engberston. It started out as a simple holiday trip into the Oregon wilderness to find the perfect Christmas tree. But for 8-year-old Derek Engberston, that December afternoon in 1998 ended up turning into a mystery that has haunted his family and investigators for almost 3 decades.
Derek went missing while looking for Christmas trees with his dad and grandfather. His dad and grandfather split up, with Derek bringing along his hatchet to cut down the tree. When dad and grandfather returned, Derek was missing.
One moment, he was within sight of his father and grandfather, bundled up against the cold, swinging a small hatchet he'd brought along. And the next, he was gone. The vast, snowy landscape of the Winnemah National Forest near Rocky Point, Oregon, became the setting of a desperate search. When Derek's father and grandfather realized they had lost sight of him, panic set in. At 4:13 p.m., they flagged down a passing motorist who drove 2 miles to a nearby resort to call 911. But by the time authorities arrived, the forest was already being swallowed by a raging blizzard, wiping away any clues that the boy might have left behind. As search teams combed through the frigid wilderness, they found something eerie, the small footprints looping in the snow, leading to a clearing near the road. And there, in the fresh powder, was a snow angel, presumably made by Derek. But there was something even more troubling. Whatever tracks had led away from that spot had been obliterated by a passing snowplow. No one knew which direction Derek had gone, if someone had taken him, or if that snowplow had perhaps clipped him, tumbling him along for who knows how far. The search was relentless, though. Authorities used planes, helicopters, and dogs to scour the area. Hundreds of volunteers braved sub-zero temps, searching for any sign of the missing boy. A very crude shelter was found in the woods, fashioned from sprigs tucked beneath fallen logs. And could Derek have built it, trying to survive in the brutal elements? And if so, why couldn't search dogs pick up his scent? His parents, who knew their son was used to long treks through the wilderness, held on to hope. With temperatures plummeting and no further signs of the boy, law enforcement feared the worst. And several days later, a witness would come forward claiming to have seen a man struggling with a young boy near the area that day. Thinking it was just a father disciplining his son, they brushed it off, which is why they didn't report it at first. And then, because that statement was released, word got around that maybe there was a guy with bad intentions in the area on the day in question. And soon, more reports surfaced of a man in a two-door Honda asking for directions in those woods. This individual was described as uneasy and a bit sketchy. And had the boy not disappeared, these witnesses would not have thought twice, but now it made them wonder. Who was he, and why was he out there all alone? Months passed, and then a bizarre development. In September of 1999, graffiti appeared in a rest area bathroom 300 miles away. Law enforcement confirmed that it referenced Derek's disappearance, but the exact message was never revealed to the public. Derek's mother, Lori, believed it was just a sick joke, but was it? Or was it a cryptic clue left by someone who knew more than they were letting on? It would take several years, but eventually another name entered the conversation: Frank Milligan, a convicted child diddler serving time for an unrelated crime. In 2008, authorities revealed that he was a possible suspect in Derek's disappearance. He was in the area at the time and had alluded to other cellmates about crimes he was never caught for. But ultimately, there was not enough evidence to charge him, and so the case remained open and unsolved. And so was he lost to the elements, his body swallowed up by the wilderness, or did something far more horrifying happen that day in the snow? And the truth remains buried somewhere out there in the woods, waiting to be discovered. So there were 5 of the strangest missing persons cases nobody can explain. Hope you enjoyed the episode. And if you did and you want more true crime from us, go check out our other podcast called Everytown, where we do deep dives into some of the strangest cases you've never heard of. And if you're in the mood for a movie, go watch the one we created called An Angry Boy, which is available for free and to stream. Go to anangryboy.com for all those options. Thanks so much for stopping by and keeping me company. You guys watch yourselves out there. I'll see you soon.
Don't upload your videos to YouTube. Upload to Restream, where we will live
I got to go in and fix some things.
stream it to YouTube and all your platforms at once. Get ready.
Okay, this is going to stream off into a missing case in Canada that lasted 13 years. 2 years ago, her remains were found, but this one is not going to be that. But the next 2 will, or the next several will. So I really can't just blame Nancy Guthrie's case. I also have to blame Sebastian Rogers' case because I wasn't paying attention.
Of disappearances, it's a very, very difficult time for the family, so I kind of hesitate creating videos around this time, but in particular with Maddie, the largest thing that they did to increase awareness on the case around the disappearance was this thing called a poker ride, where everyone could come out to the area where she went missing and they could ride horses, quads, they could walk, and it basically restarted searches while they were out there, and it kept her name alive. And unfortunately, because of COVID-19, they had to cancel that this year, and it would have been, I think, the 9th year that they've done it, and that is absolutely devastating. I can't imagine really looking forward to doing that once a year, to have that peace of mind and see that, you know, these many people are out here still thinking about my daughter or my sister or, you know, my friend, and to not have that this year after so many years of having that, I can imagine is devastating. So Maddie disappeared when she was 20 years old from Hogsback Lake in British Columbia, Canada, on May 28th, 2011. Maddie is something else, you guys, and I have this like odd personal connection with her, I feel like, because she reminds me so much of myself. Like, I look back to how I was at the age when she disappeared, and me and her probably would have been absolute best friends. She basically was the kind of person that nobody ever had anything bad to say about. She grew up with her parents, Dawn and Eldon, with an older brother and a little sister that she was very, very close to in Vanderhoof, British Columbia. She was the middle child, so she was the firecracker, the wild card. Like, you couldn't stop her, you couldn't slow her down. There was never a time that she was doing nothing. You could either find her participating in some kind of water sport, or she was on quads, or she was, you know, on her dirt bike, she was horseback riding, she was hanging out with her friends. She was just the kind of person that was constantly looking for something to do and something better to do, which unfortunately did lead to one quality that kind of was one of her quirks. She tended to ditch plans because she was always on the hunt for something more fun. But even when she did that, she would still invite everybody along with her. She was always the life of the party and drew everyone into her at high school just because she was kind. She was nice to everyone, and she just was this giant ball of energy. She was known to always keep a smile on everyone's face constantly, and she always had her friends' backs. So she was just the perfect definition of a social butterfly. Throughout high school, she would make short films with her friends, and she did this to stay busy and because it was fun. And she wanted to be full on, hands on deck. She wanted to, you know, create the idea for these little films, and she wanted to execute them. She wanted to edit them herself. She wanted to turn it in. She took a class, a visual arts class, and she just had this love for it. And she loved it even more because she couldn't wait to show everybody what she'd created. She was just something else. She had a knack for making people laugh, and was a day like any other day. She had lunch with her mom, and then she had plans originally that day to hang out with her cousin. Her cousin lived in Prince George, I think about 3-ish hours away. I could be wrong on that. I'm pretty sure that's how far it is. She was in town just for a few days, and they had been planning to hang out, but as Maddie would sometimes do, she ended up texting her cousin that day saying, you know, I'm actually going to my friend's birthday party at Hogsback Lake. I'm sorry to have to cancel on you, but I'm just really looking forward to going. Now, again, this was typical for Maddie to do, so this wasn't crazy. I don't think anyone was overly upset or anything like that. It was just her typical last-minute change in plans. She was very, very spontaneous. Maddie planned to go to this party with an old high school friend named, I believe, Jordan, but everyone calls her Jordy. And Jordy had moved to the area in 2007, so halfway through Maddie's high school career, so halfway through Maddie's high school experience, and they became friends. I don't think they were ever incredibly close. I do know that by the time they graduated, according to Maddie's mom, they pretty much didn't really talk anymore, and that was the last time they had seen each other until this party. So it's kind of random that they decided to hook up together and go to this party. I don't know how exactly that happened. I don't know if they maybe just saw that the other had been invited and they're like, oh yeah, let's just go together. But either way, they decided for the first time in years to hang out and go to this party. Because they planned to drink at this party, Maddie and Jordy decided they were going to camp out, and apparently there were a couple other party goers that planned to camp as well. There was a big Facebook page about this party. There was an event page, so they were kind of communicating on there, and so Maddie Maddie packed up toiletries, any personal belongings she needed. She packed a cooler that she filled with a 6-pack, a bottle of wine, and I think 2 tents. And Maddie and Jordy headed off in Maddie's 1990 Ford F-150. Hogsback Lake is about 20 minutes from Vanderhoof, just kind of depending on where they live. I'm not sure where that is, so I can't say directly, but it's a 20-minute to 30-minute one-way drive. When they got there, they started to set up the tent, and I'm assuming they got there probably sometime around 8. I don't know an exact time. They realized right away that one of the tents they had was teeny tiny. I believe they had the other larger tent with them, but they forgot the poles for the tent. So sometime around 9, they decided to head back to Maddie's house to grab the poles so they'd have a larger tent to sleep in. Maddie's mom remembers seeing her. She, did have some communication with Maddie when she came back. It was around 9:30, she said. Maddie seemed to be in a fine mood. She just said they goofed up, forgot the poles, so she was grabbing them and heading back out to the lake. So this would put her back at Hogsback Lake roughly at around 10 p.m. The last time Maddie's mom heard from her was
Y'all, I'm gonna have to pause this. I've got to come back at 6, a little bit after 6, probably around 7, and I'll go live then. I've got to go do something. I didn't realize how late it had gotten. Love you all until 7 o'clock. See you guys then.